The two men could not have been more different. Gamal Himdan was a recluse, immersed in his studies. Robert Hichen was an extrovert, frequently traveling, seeking new experiences. Their politics were also clashing. Himdan was a fierce Egyptian nationalist. Hichen was an imperialist, believing in the grand project behind the British Empire. As for the ages they lived in and their impacts on them, Hichen was a product of the late 19th, early 20th century, connected to the refinement of the Renaissance and the optimism of the 18th century Romanticism. Himdan, on the other side, belonged to the generation formed by the Second World War and its aftermath, whereas Hichen was inclined to look languidly at the world and to reflect on what he believed were examples of utmost human achievement. Himdan was driven to analyzing what he deemed fundamental questions about his immediate environment. Yet, both men unintentionally contributed to each other's work. Himdan's masterpiece, Egypt, a study in the genius of the location, is a hard-nosed assessment of the meaning of Egypt's geography. Hitchen's The Spell of Egypt is almost a poem on the meaning of Egypt's history. Himdan argues that Egypt's geography has shaped the traditions of agriculture and farming in the country, connected its different regions with each other and to a center where authority was destined to appear, and has forged a coherent, homogeneous society. One of Himdan's key conclusions is that these traditions and connections have resulted in similarities, in integration, and later on dependences in between the regions that together were the foundations of the Egyptian state. Himdan shows how unique these foundations were, not only in the Orient and the Mediterranean over 6,000 years ago, but throughout the entire ancient history. To Gamal Himdan, this uniqueness was a key reason why a specific type of civilization had emerged on this land, and why it lasted 3,000 years and later evolved to become the host of one of the most luminary branches of the Hellenic civilization. That is, of course, in Alexandria. Hitchen's The Spell of Egypt traces the pyramids, the Sphinx, and the major temples in a specific order as one encounters them while traveling on the Nile from the north to the south, and at each stops to describe, reflect, and uses history and his imagination to find connections between the different hallmarks in this journey from the north of Egypt to its south. The stories that Hitchens weaves connect the monuments with their epochs, as well as with the evolution of beliefs in the first 3,000 years of recorded Egyptian history. The result is a concise but dense book that conjures up a holistic meaning that the pyramids, the Sphinx, the grand temples, and their hosts, the land of Egypt and the Nile, collectively form. Hitchens would have objected to the verb conjure, for it signifies an agency on his behalf, while he would have argued that he merely recorded what the Nile, the pyramids, the Sphinx, and the temples in their order from the north to the south actually in themselves add up too. In Hichen's view, Egypt's history has left not only monuments but also a meaning on its land. Not surprisingly, Hichen repeatedly invokes that grand master of reflecting on nature's work and on the finest milestones of major civilizations. Goethe. Like Goethe, Hichen employs his knowledge, observation, imagination, and language to decipher what the land, the water, the banks of the river, and the architecture keep only for the worthy. Hichen's poetic style complements Himdan's analytical approach. Himdan gives us a tightly argued case built on numbers, facts, substantiated deductions, and precise comparisons. Hichen presents us with images, flashes of memory, eureka moments, and descriptions of sense. Gamal Himdan teaches us about the land of Egypt and how the physicality of the location enabled the state and made the civilization both a natural product of the place and a reflection of its uniqueness. Hichen, on the other hand, preaches to us about the soul of that civilization, illuminating our minds with the ideas upon which that civilization was built, and towards their expression its grandest monuments were erected. The genius of the location and the spell are must-read books for any student or lover of Egypt. Combined together, they are a key to a rich understanding of the idea of Egypt.